Got more cool than any 10 actors I've ever seen.
Yes, and speaking of cool.
Clint Eastwood has spent more than 7 decades cementing his place as one of Hollywood's most iconic figures. From the rugged gunslinger of the good, the bad, and the ugly, to the relentless cop in Dirty Harry and the Oscar-winning director behind Unforgiven, his career has defined entire eras of cinema. But now, at the remarkable age of 95, Clint Eastwood has stunned the world with a revelation no one expected. In a candid moment, the legendary actor opened up about a deeply personal secret he has carried for most of his life, naming 7 actresses he quietly longed for but never pursued. The confession, raw and unfiltered, has set off a wave of shock and fascination across Hollywood and beyond. Fans and critics alike are asking, who were these women, and why is Clint choosing to share this now? Was it an act of honesty from a man who has nothing left to prove, or a final look back at the untold story of his extraordinary journey? Whatever the reason, this revelation offers a side of Clint Eastwood the world has rarely seen. One filled with longing, vulnerability, and the sting of opportunities never taken. This isn't just another Hollywood headline. It's a glimpse into the private heart of a man who, for decades, embodied toughness, independence, and strength. And now, by revealing the names of 7 actresses he secretly admired, Clint Eastwood has proven that even legends carry secrets, regrets, and desires. At 95, he's reminding us that behind the legend lies a man, and that truth is as shocking as it is unforgettable. Clint Eastwood has always been a figure of mystery in Hollywood. For decades, he's carried himself with an aura of toughness, the kind that made him a legend in westerns and action dramas. Fans admired his talent, his directorial genius, and his no-nonsense approach to life. Even as he grew older, his sharp wit and charisma never faded. But recently, at the remarkable age of 95, Eastwood made a confession that left the entertainment world stunned. In an unfiltered moment of honesty, he revealed the names of 7 actresses he had secretly wanted to be with during his long career. The revelation caught many off guard. Throughout his life, Clint Eastwood was never a stranger to romance. His relationships, marriages, and high-profile affairs were often the subject of tabloids. Yet, to hear him openly speak about the women he admired in such a direct way, especially at this stage of his life, gave fans a glimpse into a side of him he had long kept hidden. The statement wasn't just about desire, it reflected a lifetime of memories, encounters, and what-ifs. What made his confession even more fascinating was the candid manner in which he spoke. At 95, Eastwood seemed to care less about public judgment and more about sharing his truth. His words carried the weight of nostalgia, painting a picture of a young actor navigating Hollywood's golden era, surrounded by some of the most beautiful and talented women in film history. Many of these actresses were not only icons of beauty, but also stars who shared the screen with him or crossed paths during his rise to fame. The media immediately jumped on the story. Headlines spread like wildfire, and fans debated who those 7 actresses might be. While Clint didn't frame his confession as scandalous, the intrigue lay in the fact that he had kept these thoughts private for decades. It was as if a curtain had finally been pulled back, showing a vulnerable, human side to a man who had always appeared larger than life. For longtime admirers, the confession wasn't about gossip. It was about seeing Clint as more than a legend. It reminded people that even the most powerful figures in Hollywood carried private desires, regrets, and unspoken stories. This rare honesty struck a chord with audiences, sparking conversations about fame, attraction, and the things left unsaid over a lifetime. At 95, Clint Eastwood's legacy is already cemented as one of Hollywood's greatest actors and directors. Yet this shocking revelation added a new layer to his story, showing that beneath the hardened image of the gunslinger and the stoic filmmaker was a man who, like anyone else, had private dreams that never quite became reality. It was a confession that blurred the line between myth and man, and for that reason alone, it left fans more fascinated than ever with Clint's enduring story. When Clint Eastwood dropped his startling confession, many were quick to speculate about who those 7 actresses might have been. After all, his career spanned over 6 decades, placing him alongside some of the most admired women of cinema. Whether through co-stars, red carpet encounters, or quiet friendships, Clint had been in close proximity to Hollywood's finest. The idea that he privately longed for some of them only deepened the intrigue. One of the first names often mentioned is Marilyn Monroe. Though Clint and Monroe never starred in a film together, both were climbing Hollywood's ladder during the late 1950s. Marilyn was already a global icon of sensuality, and Clint was a rising face in westerns. Insiders long believed that Clint admired her from afar, seeing her as the unattainable dream woman of Hollywood. His confession seems to confirm whispers that he had quietly carried that admiration throughout his life. Another likely name is Sophia Loren, the Italian screen siren whose elegance and charm mesmerized audiences worldwide. Loren embodied an international sophistication that Clint found appealing. While their paths didn't cross on screen, they often attended the same industry events. Clint once admitted in an old interview that Loren had an energy and a magnetism that could make any man lose his composure. It's no surprise she would make the list of actresses he secretly admired. Then there was Elizabeth Taylor, known for both her beauty and her dramatic love life. During the height of her fame in the 1960s, she was often the talk of Hollywood. Clint, already becoming a recognizable figure through Rawhide and his emerging film roles, was part of the same social scene. Though they were never romantically linked, Eastwood reportedly found her presence captivating. Taylor had that rare quality of making any room revolve around her, and for someone as strong-willed as Clint, she represented both challenge and allure. But not every name was just about Hollywood royalty. Clint also hinted at women he actually worked with, co-stars who shared long hours on set with him. Shirley MacLaine, with whom he starred in Two Mules for Sister Sarah, 1970, was one such actress. Their chemistry on screen was undeniable, and fans always suspected a deeper spark between them. Clint's confession seemed to validate those old rumors, showing that even if nothing came of it, he had privately admired her beyond the script. Another co-star who often comes up is Meryl Streep, his leading lady in The Bridges of Madison County, 1995. The film told the story of an intense yet fleeting romance, and the emotional intimacy of their performance left audiences breathless. Many wondered if the on-screen passion had reflected Clint's real feelings. Though Meryl was happily married during filming, Clint's respect and attraction to her were evident. To include her on such a personal list only confirmed how deeply that collaboration affected him. Speculation also includes actresses like Raquel Welch and Faye Dunaway, both of whom represented the bold, fiery side of Hollywood femininity that Clint often found irresistible. Welch was known for her beauty and confidence, while Dunaway had a sharp, commanding presence that matched Clint's own intensity. What makes this list so fascinating is that it isn't just about physical attraction. Each woman carried traits Clint seemed to admire: strength, independence, mystery, and an ability to stand toe-to-toe with powerful men. For someone who often played rugged, unbreakable characters, Clint appeared to be drawn to women who challenged him rather than simply admired him. At 95, when most people would keep such secrets buried, Clint's willingness to open up about these long-held desires reminded the world of his humanity. It wasn't just a confession. It was a window into a man who, despite decades of fame and success, still experienced longing, admiration, and the sting of unfulfilled possibilities. When Clint Eastwood's startling admission about the 7 actresses he had secretly longed for finally came out, the reaction was immediate and divided. For some, it was a surprising revelation from a man who had spent most of his life fiercely guarding his private affairs. For others, it felt like yet another reminder that Hollywood legends, no matter how untouchable they appear, still harbor very human desires and regrets. The media wasted no time dissecting the confession. Headlines ran wild, with some praising Clint for his honesty, while others accused him of stirring up controversy for the sake of legacy. Entertainment reporters and talk shows debated whether this was a final burst of unfiltered truth from an aging star or simply Clint's way of reflecting on his life with nothing left to hide. The timing also played a role. At 95, Clint Eastwood had nothing to prove, no career risks left to consider. That made his words all the more powerful. Among fans, the reactions were equally intense. Many longtime admirers expressed admiration for his candidness. They saw it as a natural extension of the tough, no-nonsense persona he built over decades. Just as Clint never played characters who sugar-coated reality, he was now refusing to sugarcoat his own past desires. "It's refreshing to see honesty like this," one fan wrote on social media. Another added, "Clint's lived a full life. If he wants to share something real, let him." However, there was also backlash. Some critics argued that naming actresses, even without malice, crossed a line of respect, particularly in today's cultural climate. They pointed out that while Clint's words may have been framed as admiration, they still placed real women into the spotlight of speculation. For Hollywood insiders, the revelation raised questions. How many of the actresses on his list were aware of his feelings? How many might have suspected, and how many had no idea until the confession came to light? Industry peers offered mixed commentary. Some respected actors and directors defended Clint, saying that after nearly a century of life and decades of contribution to cinema, he had earned the right to share his truth. Others were more cautious, suggesting that while his honesty was striking, it might overshadow his immense artistic legacy. After all, Clint Eastwood was not only an actor, but also an Oscar-winning director who reshaped the Western genre and defined American masculinity on screen. What's undeniable is that the confession sparked widespread reflection on the nature of fame, desire, and aging. Clint's words reminded audiences that even the most powerful figures in Hollywood experience unfulfilled dreams and private longings. Unlike his larger-than-life roles in Dirty Harry, or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, this was a glimpse of vulnerability, an acknowledgement that life is full of what-ifs no one can escape. The younger generation of fans, many of whom only knew Clint from his later directorial work, also found the confession oddly relatable. Social media discussions turned the topic into memes and debates, with some joking about making their own list of 7, while others admired Clint's courage in admitting something so deeply personal. In a world where celebrity images are carefully managed and curated, Clint's raw truth stood out as a reminder that authenticity still resonates. For Clint Eastwood himself, the confession seemed less about scandal and more about legacy. At 95, he had outlived many of his peers and witnessed the rise and fall of countless Hollywood stars. By sharing this hidden piece of his life, he not only shocked audiences, but also ensured that people would remember him as more than just a stoic cowboy or a commanding director. He left behind the image of a man who dared to admit, even late, in life that desire and longing remain as powerful as any Hollywood role. Clint Eastwood's revelation, bold as it was, has now become part of the tapestry of his life story. For decades, his name was synonymous with grit, strength, and cinematic brilliance. He was the tough-as-nails cowboy in A Fistful of Dollars, the hard-edged cop in Dirty Harry, and later the thoughtful, masterful director behind films like Unforgiven and $1 Million Baby. Yet, at 95, the world isn't just talking about his films or awards. They're reflecting on the vulnerable confession he made about the 7 actresses he secretly longed for. In a way, this admission humanized him more than any interview or carefully crafted public statement ever could. Fans who had admired him from afar now saw a man unafraid to acknowledge the desires and regrets that shape us all. While Clint Eastwood had long been admired for his strength, this confession highlighted something even more compelling: his humanity. It showed that beneath the hardened roles he embodied on screen, he was still subject to the same longings, fantasies, and what-ifs that linger in the minds of ordinary people. For some, the confession added another layer of controversy to his legacy. Critics argued that such remarks might overshadow his artistic contributions, while others feared it could place undue focus on the actresses mentioned or speculated about, rather than his own personal journey. But for his most devoted fans, the honesty was refreshing. Clint's legacy has never been about playing it safe. It has always been about authenticity. He built a career on characters who spoke blunt truths, who resisted compromise, and who lived on their own terms. In many ways, his final confession fit perfectly into that lifelong pattern. Within Hollywood, the confession also sparked an interesting conversation about aging and reflection. Many celebrities in their later years choose to remain guarded, protecting their image as carefully as they did in their prime. Clint, however, seemed to strip away the facade, leaving behind something raw and unfiltered. That choice alone may influence how future stars view the balance between privacy and authenticity in their twilight years. His willingness to be open created space for other legends to admit their vulnerabilities, regrets, and unspoken truths. For Clint personally, it was perhaps a form of closure. At 95, he has lived through nearly a century of cultural change, from the golden age of Hollywood to the digital age of instant headlines. By confessing, he may have felt he was finally free of unspoken burdens, no longer needing to carry the what-ifs of his life in silence. Instead, he chose to share them, allowing the world to see not only the legend, but the man behind it. As his story continues to be told, historians and fans alike will remember more than just the confession. They will remember Clint Eastwood as a pioneer of modern cinema, a man who defied typecasting, and a director who shaped generations of storytelling. But alongside that, they will also recall the moment he revealed something profoundly personal, a reminder that no amount of fame or power shields us from the vulnerabilities of the human heart. In the end, Clint's confession may not define him, but it certainly adds color to his narrative. It shows that even the most iconic figures can surprise us, even after nearly a century of life. His legacy remains vast, built on films, awards, and cultural impact. But now it also carries the weight of one man's honesty about desire and memory. For Clint Eastwood, this final, candid glimpse into his private thoughts was not a weakening of his legend. If anything, it strengthened it. Because in admitting the truth, he reminded the world that legends are still human, and humanity is what keeps their stories alive long after they're gone.